Hello everyone and welcome to this conversation. I am Vedant Panse from XLRI PGDM GM batch, and today we are pleased to welcome Mr Hiren Dani, who is supply chain head at West Pharmaceuticals. With over 25 years of experience across organizations like General Motors, GE Healthcare and Becton Dickinson, he has built deep expertise in procurement, supply development and pharmaceutical supply chain strategy. Over the course of his career, he has worked across industries from automotive manufacturing to medical technology and pharmaceuticals, bringing a strong focus on operational excellence and resilient supply chains across highly regulated environments. It's pleased to be talking with you today.
Thank you, same here.
So, I will start with my first question. I would like to start with your career journey. How did you drive towards the supply chain management, and how did your career evolve towards pharmaceutical industry?
Yeah, so as a commerce graduate, when I jumped out, the only question was, do I get a job immediately or not? Right. So first priority was to get some job, and whatever came my way across my way, I just started accepting it, and then that is how slowly or first time. I won't say that I got into a supply chain, but that was first time when I got an opportunity to work with a very small time mechanical parts exporter, and the owner or the manufacturer himself was not able to converse in English, but he wanted to export. So for the purpose of that, he said he wanted somebody who can converse with the overseas client in English and exchange emails, negotiate. So he was looking for it, and I got the opportunity. So I got in there, and I was taking care of the coordinations. Then export started. So he asked me to coordinate with the freight forwarders and logistics companies and everything. And it started that way, where I was not aware that I'm doing logistics or I'm stepping into supply chain. It was just a extension part of the job, and I started with it. So that's where I worked for a year or so, and then I had some experience to say that okay, I take care of CHs, I take care of freight forwarders, and I take care of negotiations with them. So till that point of time, still I did not know that this is procurement, this is logistics, and I am a part of supply chain as a whole. So, and there was another opening. I went there, appeared, got selected. That is when General Motors came to my way. No doubt, the role at General Motors was a contractual or implant sort of role through their customs houses, the agents. But then, what more fascinated was whatever I'm handling, that is going to be 10 times bigger. Looking at the company and their volumes, plus the brand, I can still say I work for them even if I'm on an outside role. So I picked that, and I think that is how the opportunities kept coming in for me. Then I got General Electric Plastics, and that was I think one of the biggest game changer for me, as an entered as a logistics officer, slowly good to the culture of those companies, which allow you to keep shuttling horizontally around, and they gave me an opportunity to get into demand planning and SNOP cycles, and so I kept changing the roles, and at the end of 5 years or 6 years, I was almost supply chain manager there, handling one of the complete business unit supply chain. And that's where I say, okay, I'm realizing that that's how I got into supply chain. And from there, 7 years in CE Plastics, then I worked with GE Healthcare for a couple of years, and then comes Becton Dickinson for a couple of years, and then here we are where I am working for a pharmaceutical packaging company for last 11 years. And so the way I flow, this flow of my conversation went right from a small time manufacturer, exporter of metal or mechanical parts, to this pharmaceutical packaging services. I couldn't realize when I got into specialization of pharmaceutical, and I think the change happened somewhere because at Becton Dickinson, because GE Healthcare was still equipment, but Becton Dickinson was very specific to pharma delivery systems, and that's where the whole journey got shifted. So, but honestly, if we ask, I would always say that pharmaceutical packaging or supply chain could be pharmaceutical, could be automotive, could be electronics, or could be a hospitality industry. Uh, the basic concepts remain same. Right? What changes is only the nitty-gritties of it. And when I work in pharma, I think it's an open world. So
That's very interesting story, and it actually matches with most of us. Yeah.
because nobody's specialist. I mean, think
Yeah.
today's world is having options for the students to specialize in supply chain. Because when we started, there was no education which can say, okay, you are a certified supply chain professional, sort of. So, yeah,
Yeah.
good
So I guess you
question.
also did MBA in supply operations and supply chain.
Yeah, very recently. I did an EMBA, and then I realized people say EMBA or 1 year MBA is not so recognized, and when that was
Oh, but
that
it
was
has
hurting
its-
somewhere. So it was done in 2014. I
Okay.
did my EMBA, and then when it said that no, it's not so recognized, it hurt me somewhere. So then I enrolled again in 2023 for a 2 year MBA, and
Oh.
just last year I finished a 2 year MBA. So say that I am now double MBA sort of. Or if somebody says no, I will say 1.5 MBA. That should be okay.
Nice. So we will move on to next question. So the rise of biologics and vaccines has made cold chain integrity a top priority. So my question is around that only. From a supply chain perspective, how does the use of real-time IoT sensors, which keeps a track of temperature and location, can change the way you manage inventory and supplier relationships with compared to the traditional ways that we do that?
See, the earlier the situation was, and I remember very few cases also where earlier the situations, you have no measurement, you do have no tracking of an equipment, and we are very much dependent on the transporter to tell you where the vehicle is, or is the temperature control working, is the freezer working or not, what's happening with it. You don't know much about it, and many times for sure transporter is responsible for it. Even if it did not work for a few hours in between, they will for sure say it was working throughout. So we had no control over it. But in today's situation, one can be sitting at a place with your IoTs and blockchains and all, like all these technologies coming in. It is a situation where I, sitting in my office, can know where a particular vehicle is, what is the temperature being maintained in the freezer, and at what speed it is going, what is happening, is the temperature continuously getting measured or not. So same happens in my warehouse as well, right? I have a 3PL outside warehouse, and if I want to know, you can install those sensors in the warehouses, and you can sit in your office taking out reports to know, or put an alarm into it that the moment the temperature goes beyond a particular degree, you get an immediate alert via email that your system is gone, or temperature is rising. So, or even nowadays WhatsApp, they send you a message on WhatsApp, SMS, everything has started. That system alerts 35 degree if you put it. If it goes 35.1, you get all the alerts immediately that this is gone. So, and I have seen one where they have automated calls. So you don't miss at all, right? You get a call saying that it's an automated message, but it says this is your temperature monitoring system, and it's extended the maximum defined temperature, which is awesome, right? You don't need to measure. You're not dependent on anybody. Your systems are giving you complete details. That's where we are heading.
Accuracy and like all the decisions will be data driven.
Yes, and it is facts, right? You're not dependent on somebody to pull the data and give it to you, which can be wrong. This is somewhere system is throwing the data to you, which is very clear and very crisp. So you're perfectly right on it.
So my next question is connected to the previous one. So your background includes significant experience in procurement and supplier development. So with the advent of Pharma 4.0, how can artificial intelligence be used to move from a reactive procurement to more of a proactive procurement?
So going back to the traditional types, right? So procurement, there was no procurement, right? We used to say purchase, right? In old days, good old days, it was purchase. And what was the purchase? What was supposed to be done by purchases? They have a traditional production plan. I know how much inventory I would require, and that is what I would put into the some vendor that this is how I need. You go figure out how will you do it, but I need it in this phase. And for example, there is something changes or I get an additional demand somewhere. What is my next move? I will pressurize the vendor that I don't know, I need, or I'll put a penalty, you cannot supply. And how much will that work? Right? Maybe the vendor is bound with you for the number of POs he has accepted, and then he would quit. Do you want that, or you want the vendor to support you during the times of crisis? Most important question. Right? So nowadays, vendor is your extended own system. We cannot say that it is a vendor. It's a business partner, right? So you have to get into, like, when you say extended supply chain, or when you say that today's evolved product procurement function is supposed to be looking into the vendors, is supposed to be looking into the vendors' production systems. We need to get into their raw material suppliers. I should know, right? For example, I'm buying polythene bags. I should know that does this guy have enough raw materials? What are his raw material supplier sources? And how will it go? Because oil is going to get into trouble. Today, how much am I covered? That's where we stand today. That how long, and it is never ending, right? That how long will you go into that supply chain? Because then they have seen where they go supplier systems as well to know how much is that guy covered. So very important part is, and another important part is the cost. As procurement, we always pressurize vendors to reduce the cost. But do I get into their systems to know that what is their cost? So get a lean guy, get a Six Sigma person or a lean person expert. And I have done that in one of my previous roles where the vendor was not ready, says my basic cost is this much. There was a trust. He gives the basic and says I have only 5% margin kept, I'm not using more. And that's where I stayed in their city or in a place there. We were in their plant based for some around weeks or so, going through the complete process with my lean expert, and then we completely broke their processes, their costings, and tried to do some or remove some non-value added things from the system, and proposed them at the end of sixth day that if you do this changes, these are not required. You're just doing it for the sake of it. Maybe traditionally we find, and you're wasting time here. If you remove this, your time is saved, plus energy and cost will be different. And yeah, they got approximately 7 to 8% benefit. Out of it, they said okay, happily gave 4% to us because it was a benefit to them. And that's that's the transparency that you should. That's the relationship that is required to maintain with the suppliers. Right? That even, or they are without any reluctance sharing with you the percentage margin they have in a particular product supplying to you.
That was an interesting story, how you reduced your cost by helping your procurement team. So, coming to my next question. Developing a combination product means managing regulation for both a drug and a medical device. So, what are the biggest challenges in coordinating the supply chains of these two different worlds?
So, see, both of these almost will go hand in hand. First thing, for example, a pharmaceutical company who deals in APIs or drugs will be buying products from some suppliers, and they would always want an extended arm, sort of, right, so that they can reduce their processing time, because their core strength is API and not sterilization. So, for example, so when I buy a raw material in a API company or a drug company, I would want that raw material is completely clean, not having any contamination, sterilized, whatever, so that I buy it, put straight on the production line. Otherwise, I have to do the sterilization first, and then that increases the process, cost, time, everything. And is that the core strength of a pharma company or a API company? No, right? Their core strength is the drug, which they are more important to manufacture. So they always try to giving. Then that's where it's not coordinating of the two supply chains, but it's a quite good integration of both, where both of them has to somewhere integrate in each other, and the whole process will flow smoothly. You should not realize where the changeover is happening, and like same happens with their supplier, that they want to give the non-value add before activities to their supplier. Everybody starts doing that, which is for the drug company, it is a value add services that their suppliers is giving, and they are removing a non-value add from their system, saving a process. So, that's the seamless process going through. So not to coordinate but to integrate.
Okay. So this brings to my last question. So as we all know, like India is transitioning from being a generic powerhouse to a leader in innovation and biologics. So as a head of supply chain, what technologies do you see that might be coming in supply chain? Maybe using robotics in warehouse or blockchain for traceability or something entirely new?
See, the robotics in warehousing are already there. We have flexible racks. We have robotics in the market available, right? So there is a system now. We have racks are with the wheels with complete safety, but they are flexible racks with the panels at the bottom. So you move the rack and pull out the material. So that helps you to save a lot of space. Robotics, yes, you don't need people now. You feed and the robo will go in, pull out the pallet, bring it back. You don't need that. So also you have a system where your system is integrated with a barcode on your racks or every beam, and you know which product is stored in which rack. Your system, say for example, this is defined for a FIFO, and system will say that first is to be dispatched. You have to dispatch this lot first. But then it also suggests, the WMS will also suggest that this lot is to be dispatched first and it is stored in this rack. So you go there, you pick one pallet, you scan. The moment you scan the barcode on that rack, it will give you on the handheld device. It gives you the details, and you say, "I take one pallet out of it." It deducts from the system. So those all integrated things are already available. So what do you see future with all these things? So one of the things I just said there, that what's required now for future is for sure a pharma ready warehouse where I can say that I just move in and without any compliance requirements majorly. So the warehouse is already set up with all the pharma compliances. We just ordered everything correct. Login. Those kind of infrastructure would be first required. Technology wise, I think we need, one of the things, as I said, how can we ensure or how can we get a technology or a software or an AI for that sake who can predict the correct forecasts for my manufacturing, instead of me dependent on the sales people, or instead of the supply chain dependent on the sales and sales dependent on the customers. Can there not be a system which can look into because all of it is open, right? Everything is available everywhere. It's just about integrating. Can somebody do that? That you find out, say for example, furniture industry. So there is a very good example, and there how many new flats are being manufactured or being constructed. How many new apartments are there? How many new flats are there? So all those flats will need so much of extra furniture. How many of it is already sold? And that prediction can come here, saying that next 5 years, this is the expectation of the number of apartments getting ready, and if this is getting ready, so much of new furniture will be required by the end of 2027 or 2028. If that sort of forecasting starts coming with some systems, which I feel logically the way we are going today is very much possible to get the accuracy. We are very much happy to get that, and I think that should come over.
Yeah, it might be a development process.
Somebody would be working on it, and that's how it is required to go.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. It was very wonderful session with you, and thanks for taking out your time from the hectic schedule.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.